All right, buckle up, everyone, because today we're diving deep into the world of David Icke.
Oh boy, are we going down a rabbit hole?
That's an understatement.
Ick! I mean, talk about thought-provoking.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back.
Absolutely.
And the book we're looking at, Lifting the Veil, David Icke, it's actually a collection of interviews with Icke.
So it's not just him straight out laying out his theories.
Right. It's like we get this extra layer.
You've got John Rappoport, an investigative journalist.
Oh, he's a deep thinker for sure.
Asking the questions, trying to make sense of it all.
So we're getting Icke's insights filtered through Rappaport's lens.
Exactly. It's a fascinating dynamic, two perspectives.
And let me tell you, some of the stuff they get into, it's mind-bending.
Ick doesn't shy away from anything.
Atlantis, secret societies, mind control. It's all in there.
Buckle up, folks, because this is going to be a wild ride.
And one of the core things, right off the bat, that Icke hammers home.
Is this idea that what we perceive as reality...
Isn't the real reality?
Yeah, he's saying there's this deeper level of manipulation going on.
Like we're all plugged into some kind of matrix or something.
And I think his background as an investigative reporter...
Oh, definitely plays into that.
Years spent looking into power structures, uncovering corruption.
He's seen how things work behind the scenes.
And it makes you question everything. Like in the introduction, Rappoport talks about...
Wait, the quote about people who discover the truth but let it rot on the vine?
Yes. Like, have you ever felt that? Discovering something but not acting on it?
Oh, totally. I think we've all had those moments where, like...
You learn something, but it's almost too much to process.
Exactly. And I think Icke, he's trying to shake us out of that complacency.
To make us really grapple with the implications of what he's presenting.
And he does that with some pretty shocking claims. Right off the bat, he tackles Princess Diana's death.
Oh, yeah. He does not believe the official story for a second.
He flat out calls it an assassination.
By this group he calls the Brotherhood.
And he lays out all this evidence. It's actually pretty compelling.
Like Diana herself had this premonition about dying in a helicopter crash.
That's right. She even thought MI5 might be behind it.
Then you've got the whole thing with the ambulance.
Oh, it took forever to get to her. All these suspicious delays.
And then there's that Henry Kissinger quote, the one where he said Diana was diplomatically and politically uncontrollable.
Like almost a threat, right?
Exactly. So if you buy into Icke's theory...
This wasn't just a tragic accident.
It was a deliberate hit, a message sent by the powers that be.
Yeah, and that message being, don't mess with the Brotherhood.
Right, because anyone who threatens their agenda is in danger.
So who is this Brotherhood? It sounds like something out of a spy novel.
Well, according to Icke, it's this network of individuals and secret societies.
They're pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Manipulating global events, everything, for their own gain.
Like they've got this master plan, this long game they're playing.
And it's all about control, maintaining power, and advancing their agenda.
And he's got this whole breakdown of their strategy, like a three-pronged approach.
Yeah, first, they eliminate any threats.
Assassinations, discrediting people, silencing whistleblowers.
Basically, anyone who gets too close to the truth or stands in their way.
Second, they infiltrate institutions, governments, media, finance.
They put their people in key positions of power.
So they can control the narrative, the flow of information.
And influence policy from the inside.
Like a shadow government, pulling the strings of society.
And third, they orchestrate major events.
Wars, economic crises, even tragedies.
To manipulate public opinion.
And achieve their goals, he calls it the problem reaction solution strategy.
Like, they create a problem, people react with fear or outrage.
And then they offer a solution that gives them even more power.
It's chilling when you think about how that could play out in the real world.
It's scary to think about.
But ultimately, what's the end goal for this Brotherhood? What are they working towards?
Icke's pretty clear about that. It's world domination.
Total control, a one-world government.
A world currency, a world central bank, a world army, the whole shebang.
It sounds almost too grand, too ambitious to be true.
But, I mean, if you look at history, look at the patterns.
You start to see how it's possible.
And where does Icke say this Brotherhood comes from? Do they have like a secret island lair?
Well, this is where things get really interesting, because Icke traces their roots back to Atlantis.
Wait, Atlantis, like the lost continent. I thought that was a myth.
I know, right? But Icke presents this whole theory about Atlantis being a real place
A technologically advanced civilization,
with knowledge that seems impossible for their time.
like those incredible ancient structures we see around the world.
The pyramids, the megaliths, things that modern engineers still can't explain how they were built.
Right, like how did they move those massive stones? What kind of technology did they have?
Icke believes the Atlanteans understood things we're only just starting to grasp.
Like sound and magnetics, and how to use those forces to achieve these incredible feats of engineering.
It's like they were tapping into a source of knowledge and energy that we've lost touch with.
And that makes you wonder, what other secrets are out there, hidden from us?
What knowledge has been deliberately suppressed, lost to time,
That's the rabbit hole Icke wants us to go down,
to question everything we think we know.
because he believes that the Brotherhood inherited this ancient knowledge.
And they've been hoarding it ever since, using it for their own purposes.
It even talks about these two branches of Atlantean knowledge, the white magicians
Who used their knowledge for good to benefit humanity,
and the black magicians,
who used it for power and control, to manipulate and dominate.
which, according to Icke, is exactly what the Brotherhood is doing today.
So it makes you think, have you ever encountered something, knowledge or technology, that seemed way ahead of its time?
Like it just didn't fit into the conventional narrative of history.
Because Icke would say, that's evidence that there's more to the story than we're being told.
Okay, so we've got Atlantis, ancient knowledge, this shadowy Brotherhood pulling the strings.
Where do secret societies fit into all of this? Are we talking Illuminati, Freemasons, the usual suspects?
You know, Icke sees them as playing a key role,
He believes they're like repositories of hidden knowledge
guarding the secrets, passing them down through generations.
and using that knowledge to manipulate the world from the shadows.
So knowledge really is power in this scenario.
And they're making sure only a select few have access to it.
And one group he specifically mentions, the Knights Templar.
Oh yeah, he goes deep into their history.
He claims they were instrumental in creating the modern banking system we have today.
Wait, are you telling me our banks are part of some ancient conspiracy?
Well, that's what Icke argues. He says the fractional reserve banking system
Which is the basis of modern banking.
was a Templar creation. And this system, he says, is designed to create debt.
Instability, and ultimately to transfer wealth from the masses to the elite.
So they're not just hoarding knowledge, they're manipulating the financial system too.
And he's suggesting that this has been going on for centuries.
That's a pretty mind-blowing thought, that our entire economic system is built on this ancient foundation of control.
Makes you wonder if we're all just pawns in a much larger game.
But if this Brotherhood is so ancient, so powerful, does that mean America, the land of the free?
Has always been under their control.
Well, that's exactly what Icke claims
He believes the American Revolution
was orchestrated by the Brotherhood.
as a way to create a nation they could control from the outset.
Okay, now that's a bold statement. What evidence does he offer for that?
Well, for one, he points to the fact that a high percentage of the signatories of the Declaration of Independence,
Were Freemasons,
and then there's the whole Boston Tea Party incident.
which he suggests could have been a staged event designed to provoke the rebellion.
So instead of a genuine fight for freedom,
The American Revolution was actually a controlled opposition.
with key figures on both sides ultimately serving the Brotherhood's agenda,
And he goes even further, saying that America has never truly been free.
that it's always been under the thumb of this hidden power structure,
It's a pretty radical perspective for sure.
and one that challenges the very foundation of American identity.
But Icke doesn't stop there. He even goes on to claim that the layout of Washington, D.C. is full of occult symbolism.
Like hidden messages embedded in the architecture and design of the city.
He points to the use of pentagrams, the 33-degree angle, the Washington Monument as an obelisk.
All with deep esoteric meaning, according to Icke.
And it's no coincidence, he says, that the House of the Temple
Headquarters of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry.
is situated right in the heart of this city.
It's like there's this hidden language, a symbolism woven into the fabric of the Capitol.
And once you start noticing it, it's everywhere.
It's like there's this whole layer of reality operating just beneath the surface, hidden in plain sight.
Makes you wonder, have you ever noticed any recurring symbols in your own life?
Like in architecture, art, even in logos and branding.
Because Icke would say those aren't just random coincidences.
They're deliberate messages, clues left by the Brotherhood to remind us who's really in control.
It's a pretty chilling thought, for sure.
Makes you start questioning everything you see around you.
And that's just the beginning of Icke's deep dive into the world of conspiracy and manipulation. So we've got this Brotherhood, ancient, powerful, manipulating events, controlling institutions, even shaping the layout of Washington, D.C. It's a lot to process. Where do we even go from here?
Well, this is where Icke's ideas about financial manipulation come into play.
Oh yeah, this is where it gets really real for a lot of people.
He argues that the Brotherhood, they're not just content with controlling information.
They're manipulating the whole economic system.
Right, and he ties this back to that fractional reserve banking system we talked about earlier.
The one he claims the Knights Templar created.
Exactly. He sees it as the root of so many problems,
Because it allows banks to create money out of thin air.
leading to these cycles of boom and bust, artificial inflation.
And who benefits from that instability?
The ones who are already at the top, the ones pulling the strings.
So it's like we're trapped in this rigged game and they're holding all the cards.
It can feel that way, but Icke's message isn't all doom and gloom.
No, he does offer some hope, right?
He believes that by understanding how the system works, we can start to break free from its control.
So it's about awareness. Knowledge is power.
Exactly. He talks about alternative economic systems, local initiatives, things like Ithaca hours.
Where communities create their own currencies. Right?
Yeah, it's about taking back our power, both individually and collectively.
So instead of waiting for the Brotherhood to change the game.
We create our own game, a game with different rules.
I like that. A game where everyone has a chance to win.
But Icke's exploration of control, it goes even deeper than just finance.
Oh yeah, he goes into some pretty wild territory.
This is where he delves into the realm of mind control.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. What exactly does he mean by mind control?
I mean, is it just propaganda, subliminal messaging in the media?
Or is there something more to it?
Icke suggests that it goes far beyond that.
Like, what are we talking about, Manchurian candidate stuff here?
Well, he points to things like MKUltra.
The CIA program, right?
Yeah, the one that experimented with mind control techniques.
I always thought that was just a conspiracy theory.
Icke presents evidence that it was very real.
And even more disturbing, he believes these techniques have been refined and are now being used on a mass scale.
On a mass scale, how could they possibly control the minds of millions of people?
I know, it sounds crazy, right?
Icke talks about the proliferation of electromagnetic frequencies in our environment.
Oh, like from cell phones, Wi-Fi, power lines.
Exactly. He believes these frequencies can be used to influence our brainwaves.
Affecting our mood, our thoughts, even our behavior.
It's like we're being bombarded by these invisible energies.
And we're completely unaware of their effects.
He even suggests that some mass shootings, other acts of violence,
could be the result of mind control.
it's a disturbing thought.
Are you saying people are being programmed to commit these acts? Yeah. Against their will?
That's what Icke suggests, and he argues that the Brotherhood,
They're using these technologies to create chaos and fear.
which ultimately makes people more susceptible to their manipulation.
So it's like a double whammy. They control the information we receive.
And they can even influence our thoughts and emotions directly.
It all sounds very dystopian. Is there any hope?
Can we protect ourselves from this kind of mind control?
I mean, if it's really happening, what can we do?
Well, Icke believes we can. He talks about the importance of grounding.
Grounding. Like literally connecting with the earth.
Exactly, like walking barefoot on the grass, swimming in the ocean.
I've heard about that it can help discharge negative energy.
He believes it helps counteract the effects of these electromagnetic frequencies.
Have you ever noticed how much better you feel after spending time in nature?
Like, you feel more relaxed, more centered.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like nature has this calming, recharging effect.
Icke would say that's the Earth's energy working its magic.
So it's not just about shielding ourselves from these external frequencies.
It's about strengthening our own energy field
And he suggests things like meditation and visualization.
to create a protective shield around ourselves.
So it's like building up our own energetic defenses,
And he also emphasizes the power of intention
choosing the thoughts and emotions we want to experience.
instead of being controlled by external forces.
So we're not just victims here, we have agency.
We can fight back, we can reclaim control of our minds and our energy.
That's a powerful message. I think a lot of people need to hear that.
We're not powerless, we have the ability to resist this manipulation.
But even if we manage to protect ourselves from these external influences.
Don't we also need to address the manipulation that's already happening within ourselves?
Oh, absolutely. That's like the key, right?
Icke talks a lot about recognizing and rejecting limiting beliefs.
The beliefs that keep us playing small, prevent us from living our full potential.
And he says these beliefs, they're often implanted in us from a young age.
Through our upbringing, through society, through the media.
It's like we've been conditioned to accept a certain version of reality.
A version that benefits the Brotherhood.
And breaking free from that conditioning requires a lot of self-awareness, a lot of inner work.
So how do we do that? How do we deprogram ourselves from this matrix of manipulation?
Icke talks about becoming aware of the tactics used to control us.
Like the propaganda we're bombarded with, the fear-mongering, the guilt trips.
It's about recognizing those moments when we're being influenced by those things.
And choosing to respond differently, to break free from the pattern.
He also emphasizes connecting with our intuition, our inner guidance system.
The voice that tells us what's true for us, even when it goes against the grain.
He believes that voice has been suppressed by years of conditioning.
So it's about learning to trust that inner voice again.
To reclaim our sovereignty, our right to think for ourselves.
Instead of blindly following the crowd, the authorities, the so-called experts.
Because what if those authorities are the ones doing the manipulating?
That's a scary thought, but it's one we have to consider.
Icke wants us to become conscious creators of our reality.
Not just passive consumers of what's being fed to us.
It's about making choices that align with our values, our truth.
And that involves taking action, not just changing our thoughts.
Icke talks about creating alternative systems and structures.
Things that are more in line with our vision for a better world.
Supporting local businesses, exploring alternative currencies.
Even creating intentional communities where people are living in harmony with each other and with nature.
It's about building a new world brick by brick. A world that isn't based on fear, control, and manipulation.
But let's be realistic. This is a massive undertaking.
It's one thing to wake up to the reality of manipulation.
It's another to actually dismantle a system that's been in place for centuries.
Icke acknowledges that he's not promising a quick fix.
It's a long game, a gradual shift in consciousness.
But he believes that every step we take towards awakening,
every act of defiance, every choice we make to align with our truth,
chips away at the Brotherhood's control.
It's like we're planting seeds for a future we may not live to see.
But that future is worth fighting for.
And it's not just about external systems and structures.
Icke also emphasizes the importance of inner transformation.
Healing the wounds of the past, embracing our shadow self.
Integrating all parts of ourselves.
It's like we have to do our own internal house cleaning.
Before we can effectively create change in the outer world.
And that involves confronting our fears, releasing limiting beliefs.
Stepping into our full power.
It's a journey of self-discovery.
That can be both challenging and deeply rewarding.
So how do we know if we're on the right track?
What are the signs of true awakening?
What should we be looking for in ourselves and in the world around us?
Icke suggests that one of the biggest signs is a growing sense of connection.
To something larger than ourselves.
A sense of unity, of purpose, of unconditional love.
It's that feeling of coming home to ourselves.
Recognizing our interconnectedness with all of creation.
And with that awakening comes a desire to make a positive difference in the world.
It's no longer about just surviving or getting ahead in this rigged system.
It's about contributing our unique gifts and talents.
To create a better future for all.
It's a beautiful vision. But let's be real, this whole awakening process can be intense.
It can be scary to question everything you've been taught to believe.
And it can be lonely at times.
Feeling like you're the only one who sees the world this way.
So what advice does Icke offer for those who are struggling on this path?
He stresses the importance of self-care.
Finding ways to nurture ourselves, to stay grounded amidst the chaos.
Spending time in nature, meditating, connecting with like-minded people.
Engaging in creative pursuits, things that bring us joy. It's about finding those things that fill our cup.
And help us stay centered.
So we can show up as our best selves for this challenging work.
And Icke also reminds us that we're not alone in this.
There's a growing global awakening underway.
A critical mass of people who are waking up to this reality.
And choosing a different path.
It's like a silent revolution happening.
A shift in consciousness that's rippling through humanity.
And the more we connect with each other,
the stronger that movement becomes.
He also encourages us to lead by example.
To embody the change we want to see in the world.
To be the living proof that another way is possible.
It's about shining our light so brightly.
That others can't help but notice.
But what about those who are still asleep?
Those who are clinging to the old paradigm, resisting change.
How do we reach them?
Icke suggests that the best way to wake others up
is to live our own truth authentically.
To be living examples of the freedom and empowerment that's possible.
It's about showing them, not just telling them.
But let's be honest, not everyone is going to be receptive to this message.
Some people are deeply invested in the old paradigm.
And they're going to fight tooth and nail to maintain control.
He acknowledges that.
What encourages us to stay focused on our own path.
Not to get caught up in the drama and negativity of the old world.
It's about choosing love over fear, hope over despair, action over apathy.
And remembering that we have the power to create the world we want to see.
One thought, one action, one choice at a time.
All right, we're back and ready to tackle some of Icke's most intense ideas.
This is where it gets really interesting and potentially controversial.
Yeah, we're talking mind control, which is something Icke really dives into.
And he goes way beyond just like propaganda and media manipulation.
Right, he's suggesting there are technologies being used to influence our thoughts.
On a subconscious level.
Like actual tech, not just subtle persuasion.
Right, so he starts by pointing to programs like Cultra.
The CIA project that experimented with mind control.
Back in the Cold War, we're talking drugs, hypnosis.
Even torture.
All aimed at manipulating people's minds.
Yeah, I've heard about Cultra, but I always thought it was a pretty limited program.
Something that was quickly shut down.
So is Icke saying it went further than that?
Much further. He argues that these programs never really stopped.
They just got more sophisticated.
More covert.
And he's suggesting that these mind control technologies are now being used on a mass scale. Okay, now how is that even possible?
How do you control the minds of millions of people without anyone noticing?
It sounds like science fiction.
Well, Icke points to the proliferation of electromagnetic frequencies in our environment.
You mean like from cell phones, Wi-Fi, power lines?
Exactly, those kinds of things.
And he believes that these frequencies can be used to influence our brainwaves, affecting our mood, our thoughts,
even our behavior.
So he's saying we're constantly being bombarded by these invisible energies.
That can manipulate us without our knowledge.
Wow, that's a disturbing thought.
It is, and he takes it even further, suggesting that some of the mass shootings
and other acts of violence we've seen in recent years
could be the result of mind control.
You're saying people are being programmed to commit these acts?
Against their will.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
It is. It's a very disturbing idea, but that's what Icke is proposing.
So if we are living in this kind of manipulated reality,
how do we break free from it? Is there any way to protect ourselves?
I mean, if this is really happening, what can we do?
Icke believes we can. He talks about the importance of grounding.
What, like literally connecting with the earth?
Exactly. Walking barefoot on the grass, swimming in the ocean.
I've heard that can be really beneficial.
It's about getting back in touch with the earth's natural energy.
Have you ever noticed how good you feel after spending time in nature?
Like you're more relaxed, more centered.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like nature has this calming, recharging effect.
Icke would say that's the Earth's energy working its magic.
So we're not just shielding ourselves from these external frequencies.
We're strengthening our own connection to the Earth.
And he also suggests things like meditation.
Visualization techniques, creating a protective shield around yourself.
So it's about becoming more aware of our energy, learning to manage it consciously.
Taking back control of our minds and our energy fields.
So this is all pretty mind-blowing stuff. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be skeptical.
About these claims of mind control, is this all just conspiracy theory?
Yeah, how do we even know if any of this is true?
Well, I think the most important thing is to keep an open mind.
To question everything.
And to do your own research. Don't just take Icke's word for it.
Or anyone's word for it, really.
Icke may not have all the answers.
So he's asking some important questions.
About the nature of reality, the forces that shape our world.
And whether we're truly as free as we think we are.
And I think that's what's so valuable about his work.
Even if you don't agree with everything he says.
It challenges you to think differently, to look deeper.
To question the narratives we're being fed.
And ultimately, to take responsibility for creating the kind of world we want to live in.
Because that's really what it all boils down to, right?
It's not just about exposing conspiracies or uncovering hidden truths.
It's about empowerment, about taking back control of our lives.
And creating a future that is more aligned with our values and our true potential.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of David Icke.
I hope you found it thought-provoking, maybe even a little bit challenging.
Because that's what Icke does best. He shakes things up
Makes you question everything you thought you knew.
and hopefully inspires you to take action.
To create positive change in your own life and in the world around you.
So if you're ready to go down the rabbit hole,
And explore these ideas further.
we encourage you to check out Icke's work.
Do your own research, and most importantly, think for yourself.
Question everything. Trust your intuition.
And don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Because as Icke would say, the truth is out there, waiting to be discovered.
And it's up to each of us to lift the veil.
And see the world for what it truly is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning.
And keep lifting the veil.